So yeah, the 大白公出招 already. Yes, so the government has still put a lot of stimulus in the market. And like it or not, you gotta see that they're trying to work with a lot of businesses. So while government is giving direct handout to self-employed and the people that are unemployed, they're trying very hard to keep businesses in business because this whole situation is super dynamic. We don't know what's gonna happen, and we should be very happy as SME owners, as small businesses, that the government is trying to support us, but we also need to work with them. So make sure you meet your team together to talk about what is the possibilities, how can we then kind of structure this whole thing to tide through this difficult time. So I'm going to share some of my thoughts and some of the important snippets that I've got from the live session from the SG Resilience Budget for SME owners. So yeah, let's talk about this. So yes, Singapore is a very interesting country. So we are not like a super open economy like the US, neither are we like a very controlled economy like China. So we're somewhere in between, and there is always a space for business. There's always a room for business entrepreneurs to take risks so that we can profit, right? And you see that the government is trying to work very closely with a lot of businesses. Because if you think about it, right, when you do a business, you usually look left, look right. You never look up one. There's no topic on one, right? Nobody will throw you money and tell you to do a business. But at this point in time, I'm sure we all feel relatively blessed that the government is willing to step in to kind of help us tide through this process. Of course, if your business is really struggling and this thing is not enough to help you, maybe you want to kind of revisit some elements because, business is a cycle. It's not every day summer, not every day spring, right? So some businesses will need to be wind down. Some people will need to be fired. Like it or not, these are tough discussions that we need to have with our team, with our management, and just try to make this work. But the government has come in to create a lot of different support systems, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about it, and we're going to see how we then can pull through this together. So under the help business kind of package, right, the government has highlighted 3 points, which is one is cash flow, second is cost, the third is credit. So the first thing that they're going to talk about is cash flow. So I'm sure one of your biggest costs, or two biggest costs, fixed costs at least, will be your rental and your employees. Right, so your labor cost is there and it's very expensive, of course. So the government has come up with wage support scheme, which is like the 25%, 50%, and 75% support for wages. Right, so if you have not heard that, you can check out the earlier podcast, but I'm going to talk a little bit about it. So if you are not in any relevant sector and you're hiring locals, the government is going to match your 25% of the salary. So if you're paying your guys $1, the government is going to give you 25 cents. If you're in the FMB sector, specifically the food services sector, the government is going to give 50%. So for every dollar that you pay your guys, they're going to pay you 50 cents. Oh yes, the 25% only applies for locals. So if you're hiring foreigners, right, then that doesn't account. Okay, so locals only. And if you are in the tourism sector, which means like you own a bus company, you are in a tourism tech company, or any kind of relevant, maybe a linen company that washes for tourism, MICE destination events company, all the relevant sector in this market get the 75%. Exactly the details, I'm not too sure, right? So which means every dollar that you pay your employees, the government will support you 75 cents. So what you definitely need to do is faster call up MOM, right? Ask the Ministry of Manpower what's going on, what is valid, what is supported, because I know a lot of businesses these days are very integrated across different sectors, right? So you may be servicing some customers here, but then actually most of your customers are hotels. Then what's going to happen, right? So please go and check with MOM, go and check with the Ministry, Enterprise Singapore, to call them and bust their phone lines to just double confirm with them, am I eligible, what works, what doesn't work. I think we need to be proactive. Okay, government has thrown out a lifeline, why not let us take this and run. Second thing is managing costs. So on top of cash flow, the next thing is costs, right? So costs are like fixed costs, which is like your kind of rent, right? I think that is what most SMEs will face, rent and machinery. So for rent, the government is releasing property tax rebate. So all commercial properties will face no tax this year. Offices and industrial property will get 30% rebate for 2020, and the government is going to freeze all the kind of extra fees and charges for a year. And NEA is going to give you 3 months rental free if you are a hawker, 2 months if you run a social service and charity for another organization. So ultimately, the government is trying to urge all these landlords to transfer this benefit to all of us, to all the SMEs. So if you're an SME boss, please go and call your landlord. Don't waste time, go and do it. And the third thing, which is the most important thing, is that the government is extending credit lines. So they're opening up 20 billion worth of bridging loans, right, for all enterprises, big and small, right? So definitely go and call your financial institutions. It's like, how can you defer your payments? If you have a loan with DBS, with POSB, UOB, whatever, please go and call your bankers, try to find out what is exactly going on, right? All these are super important, and the government is going to give additional risk sharing, which means that for every dollar that you borrow from the bank, the government is going to increase that like insurance support to 80%. So 80 cents is going to be assured by the government. This is trying to get the banks to give you more loans, to give you that support loans, okay, so that you can tide through these tough times. But of course, 不要乱乱 loan, okay? See what you need, and if say there is a room for acquisition to buy out your competitor, also consider that these bridging loans can be capital support for you to expand your business. So why not do it, right? On top of that, I think the government is giving up a lot of support in terms of going digital, and a lot of PSG, EDG grants. I think they're going to raise the kind of claims to 80%, 90%, which means for every dollar that you put inside enterprise development, buy a software, buy this, buy that, right? At first it's $1,000, you end up pay chipak only, right? So why not do it, right? Go and claim all these different grants and work with all the leading technologies to help you go digital, help you go global. Definitely, especially in this point in time, I know it is very difficult to see far, because every day you tell your supplier call you, your customer say want to cancel, and then everything is happening at one time, right? So I understand that things are very complicated and very difficult, especially if you're in the tourism sector, food and services, events, all this kind of sector, right? Which is quite big in Singapore. About 5 to 10% of people are in this sector. And if you're in this sector, you sure very headache. But like it or not, this is a time for you to revisit your processes. Right, there are some things that you can cut. Okay, I'm not saying that you need to fire people, but actually I'm also saying that maybe you need to fire some headcount, you need to streamline your processes, because the reality is this is a tough time. We gotta make tough decisions. But while you are chopping expenses, while you're cutting costs in this point in time, work with all the ministries and explore technology. Right, I think a lot of SME bosses, because I'm from a cloud computing company, and I'm very digital per se compared to a lot of other SMEs. I realized that a lot of SME bosses, all the tauke, right, that made their money in the 80s, in the 90s, where technology wasn't so prevalent, are still not very open to digital marketing, to like CRM, like customer relationship management software, or HR softwares, direct payment structure, like digital payments. Some of them still taking cash, still paying check. Of course it's getting less and less, but why not explore? Can you do PayLah for business, right, to kind of cut your processing fee? Can you take on something like a Zoom so that your people can work from home from time to time? If let's say they are sick, or sick 不要 work, but let's say they got something happen, or let's say they're pregnant, need to relax, but somehow you need to ask them some question. Okay, don't work them because they're pregnant, but somehow if they're very important and you need to ask them some questions, then at least there's a very good software around that can help you, to engage them. Okay, but be good bosses. Please don't work the pregnant woman. But this is just a possible case. Either way, explore technology. I think this is a good time for us to look at it. Don't just look at cut costs, right? So I think cutting headcount is inevitable. Meet your team, talk to them, see what is possible, call all the relevant agencies, MOM, right, all the ministries, tourism ministry, and see what is available, right? From there, this is important discussion. It's going to be tough, but at the same time, don't miss out on digitalization, right? All your PSG grant, your EDG grant, your Go Digital grants, go and check them out. They are out there. The government is putting a lot of money to try to help all of us to keep growing, right? So that is something that we definitely need to look at as SME owners. We cannot forget this one is short-term episode. In the long term, things will come back, and we want to ride through the long term, right? So go and do all the hard discussions, but never forget, businesses are about capitalizing on opportunity. And while you're trying to figure out another way to kind of keep your business going, maybe switch to a parallel business, don't forget that the government just throw you a lifeline to tell you that, hey, maybe you can go digital. Meanwhile, and sort a lot of your back-end processes, make it easier, right? So while there's no business, or let's say things are idling, people are sitting around, then go and see how you can do all this, make this work, make yourself stronger for the near future. Of course, also go and negotiate your landlord. Go and negotiate a landlord, see whether they can bring down the cost so they can survive, and go and see all these different wage support scheme, how you can tap on it to keep your employees employed. Okay, and I'm sure your employees are willing to take a pay cut just to tide through this, but not like forever pay cut. Like if the business come back, please don't keep cutting their pay. Okay, but given this time, if things are going to get escalated, things are going to be worse. If the government release such a package, right, I can guarantee you things are going to escalate. Right, they're going to lock down borders, things will happen. Like it or not, this is within the peripheral already. You start to see Lawrence Wong coming out and do a lot of different things. While I'm not predicting that they will lock down the country, it looks like there is a projection towards it. And that's why the government is giving out a lot of stimulus to prepare all of us. So as business owners, we got to capitalize for the long term. Don't just garang kabut for the short term. So in the short term, it's going to be tough. It's going to be emotional. Join some Facebook group. See what kind of community you can participate with, talk to Singapore Business Federation, talk to SME Association, talk to all of them, figure it out, but don't forget to leverage on the opportunity to go digital. I hope you learned something useful today. See ya! Okay, I'm not saying that this is gonna be an easy time for all the SME bosses. I know you have a lot of fixed costs, and like it or not, a lot of employees, right, they will look at you as like, how now, 怎么办, 老板, right? But the reality is you also got your own family, you also got a lot of things that you need to handle. So these are tough times, these are challenges. But going digital is important, and the government is throwing us a lifeline. So let's see what we can use, whether is it through the wage support scheme or whether is it through the property tax rebate, bridging loans. Talk to the different ministry, talk to your banks, and talk to all the different agencies that are providing this digital grant. So let's take this opportunity to prepare ourselves for the longer term. But don't forget, I think you still need to do a lot of difficult conversation with your team. Talk, and talk. Let's see how to bring this to the next level and make us stronger for 2021, 2022. So I wish you all the best, but most important, stay healthy. Business closed, never mind, we can do again. I know it's not easy, it's going to be emotional, but most important, stay healthy, and I wish you all the best. Take care, guys. See ya.